Stem cell research has made me stronger than I ever thought possible. Why stop now?
Number 10. Pink Eye. It may have been all the way back in Season 1, but even then, South Park had a way to give us the gruesome.
Wait a minute. That thing landed on Kenny, and they took him to the mortuary.
Halloween has come to town, and after having been killed by a rogue space station, Kenny comes back from the dead as a zombie. This sets the tone of what follows, as we're treated to plenty of brain-eating antics by both Kenny himself and the townsfolk he infects.
Braids.
Wait your turn, Clyde.
Even poor Chef dismembers someone. But perhaps the most vile of all was watching Kyle literally split Kenny in half to save the town.
Oh man, I can't believe he's gone.
Yeah, he was too young to be taken from us.
Dude, you're the one who cut him in half with a chainsaw.
Seeing all this unfold made audiences realize how far the show was willing to go for a laugh. Number 9. The Return of Chef. Famously voiced by Isaac Hayes, Chef was killed off at the start of Season 10 following a statement reportedly made on the actor's behalf by his Scientology entourage after he suffered a stroke that requested he be released from the show.
A lot of us don't agree with the choices Chef has made in the past few days. Some of us feel hurt and confused that he seemed to turn his back on us.
Knowing his return was very unlikely, the writers gave his character one of the most definitive endings in the show's history. After confronting the members of the Super Adventure Club, Chef's escape is shortened only by his graphic demise.
Chef, we love you.
I'm sorry, children.
First, he catches fire, then falls and bounces down a rocky cliff, only to be impaled by a tree. But it doesn't end there. He is then attacked by a mountain lion, shot by his former club friends, then finally mauled by both a lion and a bear.
We can't lose another member. Shoot it!
If that's not overkill, we're not sure what is.
I'm gonna remember Chef as the jolly old guy who always broke into song.
Number 8. Season 7, Episode 2. This won't be the first entry where we're not going to mention the episode by name, but if you know anything about South Park, you know that they often try to take things to the extreme.
Ooh, Christopher Reeve, whoop-de-freaking-do.
Dude, that's not cool.
The title went a little too far for us this time, but that doesn't mean we can't discuss the episode itself. Stem cell therapy is a medical treatment that allows the use of stem cells to grow and replace other damaged cells within a human being.
My guest tonight is the brilliant star of stage and screen, Mr. Christopher Reeve, who, with the help of stem cell research, is now able to move his arms.
Christopher Reeve was a staunch advocate for human embryonic stem cell research as a possible means of treating his paralysis. But when South Park did their own spin on this, it quickly turned into something pretty disgusting. Turning Reeve into a villain, the show's version of him opted to consume the embryonic cells directly from their source. Over the course of the episode, we see increasingly graphic versions of his treatments, begging the question, why?
You're cured, Chris. It's time to stop using stem cells.
Stem cell research has made me stronger than I ever thought possible. Why stop now?
Number 7. Season 8, Episode 12. Long before people were keeping up with the Kardashians, Paris Hilton was all the rage.
You love me very much, don't you? How much you love me?
And right in the middle of her notoriety, South Park took aim and sought to bring that down a notch. Most of this Season 8 episode plays out with Hilton's attitude and reputation being severely exaggerated.
Look at his little puffball. I'm gonna feed you and take care of you and call you Mr. Biggles.
For a while, the worst seemed to be her repeating coughing up a lot of bodily fluids. However, it's the final showdown between her and Mr. Slave that really ups the ante. Hilton ultimately ends up inside Slave's large intestine, finding help from the Frog King. Just the idea of one person cramped inside there certainly oozes with cringe.
Now that's a hole.
Number 6. Woodland Critter Christmas. Who doesn't love those Christmas TV specials with all the talking animals?
There was Squirrely the squirrel, Rabbity the rabbit, Beavery the beaver, and Barry the bear.
Well, if you met these ones, you might never watch one again. This season 14 episode saw Stan encountering what he thought was an innocent group of woodland critters. Instead, it turns out that they are Satan-worshipping animals who are looking to give birth to the Antichrist.
Now our Critter Christmas can finally happen. Hail Satan! Hail Satan! Wait, what?
From there, we're treated to a blood sacrifice from a rabbit, a debauchery of bodily fluids from the critters themselves, Santa Claus being set on fire, and even baby lion cubs being taught about Planned Parenthood.
What? You mean like an abortion? Yeah, an abortion, that could work.
It's some of the most grotesque imagery to be put on an animated canvas. Number 5. Banned in China. Here we find Randy thinking he should expand his weed empire into China.
We'd make millions of dollars. I'm flying to China tomorrow.
Sure enough, he's thrown in jail, and that's where things go south. Physically abused and forced into menial labor, his treatment within their justice system is pretty terrible. Then, for a few minutes, you can't help but laugh at the show's mockery of Disney and Winnie the Pooh, before everything takes a pretty dark turn.
I was wondering, since you're new, if you might have some honey?
Randy goes to some pretty extreme lengths to eliminate Pooh to pacify the Chinese government. The entire scene in the alleyway is comparable in its deplorability to Cartman's Tenorman chili from years earlier. We're not sure what's worse, what Randy did, or how he seems so cavalier about it when he gets home. Number 4. HumancenTipad. If you're unfamiliar with the Human Centipede franchise, consider yourself lucky.
What are you going to do to us?
Everything that you agreed to in the iTunes conditions.
3 movies about human beings being permanently attached end to end is 3 films too many. South Park swapped out the live-action format for animated characters and replaced the psychotic surgeon with the likes of Apple and Steve Jobs.
These 3 people have agreed to be brought here, handcuffed to these beds, and become the prototype of our first truly interface device.
Yet, even as a cartoon, the image of Kyle and the 2 others sewn together is hard to watch. Perhaps one of the most disturbing scenes is when the human daisy chain eats, and we have to watch how the food is processed through them. Animated or not, it's all gross.
Hey! Hey, what is this, some kind of sick prank? I get the greatest thing ever, just have it taken away?
Number 3. Britney's New Look. One thing South Park has consistently done is always put a different spin on the typical controversy.
Dad, can we please not watch this?
This is important, Stanley. You boys should care about this stuff.
During a time when it seemed every channel was focused on Britney Spears' personal life, this was an episode that highlighted the absurdity of it all.
Britney is said to be now hiding out in a South Park motel. And now back to the stupid Democratic debates.
Noticeably upset about her life, the episode shows Britney pulling the trigger on a shotgun. She survives, and from there, we are treated to a half-headed Britney who seemingly tries to go on with her life. From recording in the studio to singing on the stage, every time we see her, it's unsettling. Sadly, aside from the boys, everyone else continues to mock her every move, including her new look.
Oh man, she's totally lip-syncing.
She doesn't have any lips.
Number 2. Scott Tenorman Must Die. There's no real easy way to say this, but we'll just get straight to the point.
That does it. I'm going to get Scott Tenorman. What's that wrong?
Cartman allegedly ground Scott Tenorman's parents up in chili and fed it to him. The very nature of what Cartman did shows how gruesome South Park was willing to go, even in the earlier years. This one incident transformed Cartman from being an annoying mean kid to an outright sociopath.
Do you like it? Do you like it, Scott? I call it Mr. and Mrs. Tenorman chili.
Yes, Scott wasn't exactly the nicest guy to Cartman, but it in no way justified the lengths Eric went to.
Yes! Oh, let me taste your tears, Scott. Your tears are so yummy and sweet.
The entire thing is made even more awful when we would later learn that Scott and Eric shared the same father. Number 1. Season 9, Episode 1. About 18 years ago, South Park did an episode all about transition.
God bless you, Doctor. I know you'll make me well again.
Given the time period, the tone is quite different than perhaps it would be if the episode were written today. As Garrison goes through gender-affirming surgery at the doctor's office, the show intermixes live-action footage of the real thing. Any surgical procedure that requires incisions or other sensitive work can appear quite graphic for those who aren't accustomed to seeing it. Throwing those images into the context of this episode, however, raises the cringe factor. Even watching Kyle's knees snap at the basketball game doesn't even come close in comparison.
I got it. I got the ball. Kyle, no.
Rob Lasky goes for the dunk. Now!
My ball!
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from Watch Mojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.